Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for the Township of Malahide on July 16th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin the meeting with O Canada. Please stand.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Any changes, additions? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to have a statement about our emergency services and a thank you to them.
With that under announcements. Anything else? Any other additions or changes? Seeing none, we have a resolution for the agenda, please.
That the July 16th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be approved with the following addition under section announcements.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Serna moves. Councillor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Next is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Under G, a meeting to consider Woolleyville line drain. And then under L, the Woolleyville line drain, first and second reading, and the Hipley dance drain, third reading.
Thank you. Noted. So we'll move to announcements. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to thank our emergency services, our roads crew, and everybody in the last couple of weeks. It's been pretty tough out there. We had that tragic accident on College and Imperial, and that took a lot of time, and it took a lot of professionalism to handle it. A great job to everybody involved. And of course, the next day or two, we had another crash just south of that. And then we had our infamous hydro lines that for some reason blew down in one section for whatever, but that still got everybody involved. So it's a lot of work. There's a lot of commitment. And one thing I wanted to say, I did watch one of the OPP on the internet. And his big suggestion is when you come up to a corner, put your head on a swivel. Look twice and 3 times and don't go before there's nothing there. So thank you. And thanks again to our services.
Thank you for that. Okay, next is adoption of minutes. So we have the minutes from our June 18th meeting. Any errors or omissions in the minutes? Seeing none, and resolution, please.
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June 18th, 2026 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves. Councillor Leach seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. This brings us to the section on public meetings and committee of adjustment. So the first item is the meeting to consider the Woolleyville line drain. Mayor. Mr. Varican, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, we are here tonight to consider the Woolleyville line drain here. This was a Section 4 petition by the road authority here. This road, when it was constructed, was not constructed with any formal type of drainage. So there was no storm sewers or ditches constructed when this road was constructed. So it's been an ongoing maintenance issue for the municipality. We originally were appointed, I'd guess 5 or 6 years ago to look at this. We had looked at some options then, but the budgets didn't allow for that. So now we've come back with approximately half of the original proposal to take some flow to the east here. This will drain, this includes a couple hundred meters of 450 or 18-inch storm sewer there along the road there. and then some ditching along the road and some catch basins to pick up some localized spots to improve the drainage in the area, particularly the areas that have been most noted to be an issue for both residents and the road. So we have had some consultation with the landowners there to try to address and balance their needs versus the budget here for the road. And the total estimated cost of this project is $157,400. And if there's any questions, I'd welcome them through you.
Thank you. And that's the lower cost version, right? Yes, but it needs to be done, as you pointed out. Questions or further comments from staff, from council? All right. Thank you for that report, and we'll hear the resolution, please.
That the engineer's report for the Woollyville Line Drain be accepted, and that bylaw 2634, being a bylaw to provide for the Woollyville Line drainage works, be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Lewis moves, Councilor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
That the tenders for the construction of the Woollyville Line Drain be requested for August 7th, 2026 at 11 a.m.
And can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councilor Cerna moves, Councilor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried.
And that the Court of Revision for the Woollyville Line Drain be scheduled to be held on August 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m.
And a mover and seconder for that. Councilor Leach moves, Councilor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, the next item is a public hearing for a minor variance application from Neil Hebert. And so council will adjourn its regular meeting in order to sit as a committee of adjustment under section 45 of the Planning Act. Clerk Adams, may I have the resolution, please?
That the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Malahide be called to order at 7:08 p.m. and that Mayor Dominique Giguère be appointed chairperson for the Committee of Adjustment.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councilor Leach seconds. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. So the purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for a minor variance as submitted by the owner, Neil Hebert, relating to the property known municipally as 51285 Clinton Street. So we'll begin with Mr. Steele. Can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if any comments were received?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property is a vacant lot that was created through a previous severance application, and the owner is proposing to build a residential building with two rental units on the main floor and two rental units on the second floor for a total of 4 units. The owner is proposing an increase in lot coverage from of 40%, whereas the bylaw requires a maximum of 30%. All of the requirements of the zoning bylaw will be met, including property line setbacks, height requirements, as well as minimum parking requirements. Additionally, a preliminary lot grading and drainage plan was submitted as part of the application to provide some indication that there is a solution for managing stormwater on site to ensure that there would be no impacts to adjacent properties with regard to flooding. Staff reviewed the application and find that it meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. No comments have been received at the time of submission of staff's report, and so staff would recommend the application be approved subject to standard conditions. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, members of council.
Thank you for that. Before I open it up for members of the committee, I'll ask if the applicant or agent wants to provide additional information.
Here to respond.
Yeah, can you come to the microphone, please? Push the button.
There we are. Yeah, I'm here to respond to any questions that might arise with this application. I do concur with the staff report on this.
Thank you for that. So I'll ask then if there is anyone in attendance who wishes to make comments to the application. Please go ahead. You can start with your name and address, please. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Green, and my husband Cody and I live at 51277 Clinton Street in Springfield. We are the direct neighboring property to the application and review. We have lived on Clinton Street since 2019 and have done extensive work on our home and the property to make it a place we love and cherish. If you drive down Clinton Street, which I encourage every one of you to do before a decision is made to move forward with this application, you will see all lots consist of beautiful single-dwelling homes with beautiful landscaping and homeowners who take pride in their property, including ourselves. As I'm sure you're all aware, which was mentioned previously, within Section 45 of the Planning Act, there are 4 tests a minor variance must meet. Does the application conform to the general intent of the official plan? Does the application conform to the general intent of the zoning bylaw? Is the application minor? And is the application desirable for the appropriate development for the land in question? The building of this fourplex will without a doubt directly impact our quality of life and the enjoyment of our property, as well as the surrounding properties. We have reached out to many members in the village, especially those close to the property in question, and have the backing and support of everyone we have spoken with and have a petition to reflect that. This property is significantly smaller than the surrounding lots in our neighborhood, which again is characterized by large properties, generous green space, and low-density residential homes. A fourplex on a lot of this size would be inconsistent with the existing character of the area and can negatively affect the neighborhood's appearance and livability. Myself and this community are concerned this development may lead to increased traffic, parking shortages, reduced privacy to our neighboring homes, and an added strain on local infrastructure. The proposed density of the lot this size raises the concern whether or not the application does in fact conform to the general intent of the zoning bylaws, to which these bylaws have been put in place for a reason. With no sidewalks on Clinton Street, minimal traffic, children can be seen riding their bikes and playing on the street. Families can be spotted walking their dogs and babies in strollers. A fourplex at this location means 4 times the traffic and 4 times the concern for residents who enjoy these quiet side streets on a daily basis. Multiplex homes are best suited for the main streets in Springfield, which is why this property isn't zoned for such a building. Furthermore, it appears there is a minimal demand for homes of this stature in our community, as the apartments recently built on Main Street continue to sit partially empty. To go from what used to stand as a beautifully maintained single-dwelling home on approximately 0.8 acres of land to 2 fourplex buildings and a single-dwelling home is a dramatic change. And again, if you drive down Clinton Street or through any side street within our beautiful village, you can blatantly see this proposal is not in keeping with the style and aesthetic the residents here pride themselves on. It is safe to say, with all the above considered, this application is far from desirable, nor is it appropriate for the land in question. We respectfully ask that the proposed development be carefully reviewed and that consideration be given to preserving the established character of our neighborhood. We also request that the concerns of the nearby residents be taken into account before any approvals are granted. Though the application may seem quote-unquote minor to the planning committee and to the property owner, for the residents who live here, it is far from that. Thank you for your time and consideration. We anticipate that council will make the right decision and support the current proud residents of Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in attendance wishing to add comments, or Mr. Wood, did you want to respond?
What we have here is actually a duplex, but by right and by provincial mandate, we are required, or we are permitted, I guess is a better word, to permit accessory dwelling units. So for every single family dwelling approved by this council, by law, by provincial law, you have to, provided they meet certain criteria, permit accessory dwelling units. So in a case like this where you get a semi-detached or a townhouse, you by law, provided they meet the setbacks in the side yards and whatnot, you get an additional unit for every permitted unit that is permitted under your zoning bylaw. And this was intended for, I guess, two reasons. One was to increase densities in our settlement areas, because we all know that it's now impossible to get a lot in the country that we used to do. And so the intent is to, from the provincial perspective, was to increase the density, increase the efficiency of your sewer system, which you have here, to allow more persons to connect to those services. Now, it was also again with the shortage of rental accommodation against province-wide, and a lot related to the cost of housing today, which is can be spectacular. The intent was to get more units, and in particular within the settlement areas, within the urban areas. Now, in this particular case, what the only deficiency is the lot coverage, and it would be approximately 40%. Now, if he was able to reduce that down to 10, he could still have the two units plus the two accessory units. So that's the only part of the bylaw. Now, in terms of meeting the four tests, your planning consultants out of London, and I agree with them, it does meet the four tests of the Planning Act in that respect. Now, if the neighbors are concerned about privacy, that type of thing, I'm through, we could put up a privacy fence, that type of thing. But basically, every single family dwelling we have here in town, provided they can meet the building code, they can in fact have an additional unit. Now, if communities have issues with that, well, that came down from the province, and it certainly did get mixed reviews in a lot of municipalities. In the case of Toronto, they want to have, by right, every single family unit can be replaced with a fourplex. That hasn't gone over well either. So, but getting back to this application, I think what is proposed, the only relief required is on the lot coverage. And there's no indication that the additional 10% lot coverage will have the impacts on the neighbors. I think the concern is, well, there's 4 units. Well, that goes back to our friends in Queen's Park and their decision. Any questions? I'd be pleased to help answer.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Seal, did you want to add anything to
I'll get
your report?
Maybe just note there's legislative comments regarding to increase or concerns of impacts to traffic, parking, and local infrastructure. So the proposed development does meet the minimum parking requirements of the zoning bylaw. So a total of 6 parking spaces are proposed for the units, and all the traffic from that would likely be diverted directly from the property east directly to Springfield Road. So a minimal increase in the number of vehicles. In terms of local infrastructure, as part of the previous severance application, the applicant was required to install appropriate connections to municipal sanitary sewers, as well as a connection for a municipal drain outlet for stormwater management. And so those further details will also be addressed at the time of building permit application.
Okay, thank you for that. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Councillor Cerna? Or
What?
Councillor Cerna goes first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the problem is what's happening here, and it happened on Main Street, is the people of Springfield want to keep the village a village. Springfield isn't Toronto. And, yeah, you can put a fourplex up, but that's not the character of the village. And people move here because of the character. And I understand what she's, I can't remember the name of it. Jacqueline, I understand what she's saying, and she has a petition. I don't know why it wasn't forwarded. And they're saying that there was no objections. Well, obviously there is objections. So this is going to turn into a mess, just like what happened on Main Street. And I can understand why people want to keep the character of Springfield as it is. So good luck to you all, because, if it meets the criteria set by the government in Ontario or in Toronto, our hands are tied. And there's nothing we can do about it. So the fight is on your hands. And we're going to sit back and watch. I know, you know what I'm just saying. and our hands are tied, and we're just gonna have to sit back and watch the show, and it's unfortunate because they're doing all kinds of crazy things, but I just, my sympathies to you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Whitner?
Yes, thank you. Good presentation. We can understand your concerns. Unfortunately, with the way the province is doing it, like we appealed the one up here, we took it and they got taken to the tribunal. We lost big time. There's no way we'd ever win it. It meets enough criteria and that's what they're pushing. I don't always agree with it either, and I understand your concerns, but just want you to know we are listening to it, and thank you for your presentation. I hope you can see our side of it too. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah, and I just want to clarify in terms of the objections, it was at the time of writing the report and publishing the report. So I believe the petition came Tuesday, so after it was published. So that's why it was a sequencing process. So it is still true that there were no objections at the time of writing the report. Yes, so that's why I provide the clarification so that everybody is aware the proper process and was followed, and objections were not ignored or dismissed. And yeah, so I will add also to certainly our empathy with this transition, you know, like even for Malahide, when we consulted with the community and we've said, yes, we want to be a close-knit community, inclusive and welcoming, and doing that means we have to find alternatives, and we have to be able to provide different types of accommodation and different than what used to be affordable, which is no longer affordable. So if we want our, you know, employees who work in Malahide and Aylmer in the area to also be able to live here, I think it's not, I will say that's not just a provincial directive that, you know, we follow, you know, just through obligation. I think even in the community, we accept and we've accepted that this comes with a change. Like there's a change coming. We want our children and grandchildren to be able to afford housing here. And so we have to intensify. We also here, like in our commitment, we don't want to, or we're trying to preserve farmland. How do you preserve farmland and increase housing and welcome more people? Well, that means on one lot, we're going to have to compromise a little bit and try to squeeze a little more, but it will look different. It won't be the same. Totally agree with that. And that's not easy. So, but I think working together, I think we have builders who are interested in fitting in the community also. So I think between shrubs and fences and, you know, goodwill, I think we can make this work. So, but, and for now, this is really just the variance in terms of the size that is in our hands for the committee right now. So I appreciate everyone's goodwill with this. So again, thank you for everyone in attendance for your input. And so I will now ask the committee to consider a resolution and make our decision, please.
The report number DS 26-20 entitled Minor Variance Application of Neil Hebert, 2758886 Ontario Inc., Co-Civic Planning Solutions, David Rowe, relating to the property located at Part Lot 36, Plan 71, Malahide, and part of Lot 132, Plan 120, Malahide, Part 3, RP 11R 11359-51285 Clinton Street be received, and that the Township of Malahide Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application number D13 MV03-26 to permit a maximum lot coverage of 40%, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a maximum of 30%, and that the approval shall be subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner applicant obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years from the date of decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official, and that 2, the structure be constructed as per the details shown in the drawings as provided with the application to the satisfaction of the chief building official.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a mover and seconder for that. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves. Councillor Leach seconds. Any further comments or debate from the committee? Seeing none. All those in favor? Sorry, I couldn't catch both sides. So all those in favor? Anyone opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you. So we will stay in our committee since we do have another public hearing this time so it's another minor variance application on York Line. And so we can, we're still in committee, so we're going to go straight into the clarifying that the purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for minor variance as submitted by the owner relating to the property known municipally as 51829 York Line. So again, Mr. Steele, can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if comments were received?
So this application pertains to a rural residential lot on York Line. Currently contains an existing dwelling as well as a few accessory buildings. The owner is proposing to build a new structure on the property that is approximately 241 square meters in size. And the bylaw limits the size of the accessory buildings to a maximum of 200 square meters. The building would contain a detached garage as well as an additional dwelling unit. Proposed building would meet all other requirements of the zoning bylaw, including the requirements that relate to additional dwelling units and accessory buildings. Staff reviewed the application against the 4 tests of minor variance and finds that it meets all the tests. Comments were received from Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, noting that the proposed development is outside of any regulated areas and there's no objection to the application. And so staff would recommend the application be approved, subject to standard conditions. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to questions from members of the committee.
Just double check if the applicant or agent is online. No, so there's, or here. Did you wish to add anything to the report?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure you have the opportunity. And so anyone else in attendance who wishes to comment on the application? I'll turn it over to members of the committee. Any questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have one question, just because I don't know the answer. When you're going to put an accessory dwelling unit in this new building, correct?
Your Madam Chair, that is correct. It'll be in the rear of the proposed building.
So do you connect the septic from that into the existing septic, and is that adequate, or do you? Okay, well, yeah, that's how that works, or put up a new one, I guess.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So the requirements of both the official plan and zoning bylaw require that any ADUs in accessory or detached buildings either connect to the existing septic system or require a shared between for a new system. So in this case, we have the owner proposing a new system to accommodate both the existing dwelling as well as the additional residential unit.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Any further comments or questions from the committee?
Wonder what they're gonna do though.
Okay, so if there's nothing else to add, then I'll ask that the committee makes a decision through a resolution, please.
The report number DS 26-21 entitled Minor Variance Application of Franz Fair, Co. Peter Braun, relating to the property located at Concession 8, North part of Lot 2, 51829 York Line be received, and that the Township of Malahide Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application number D13 MVO 426 to permit the construction of an accessory building with a floor area of 241 meters square, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a maximum floor area of 200 meters square. And that the approval shall be subject to the following conditions. 1, that the owner applicant obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years from the date of decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official, ensuring that the approved variance applies only to the proposed accessory structure as illustrated with the application. And 2, that the structure be constructed as per the details shown in the drawings as provided with the application to the satisfaction of the chief building official.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lewis moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, and those were the 2 items for our Committee of Adjustment, so we'll adjourn with the resolution, please.
That the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Malahide be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:31 p.m.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Cerna moves. Deputy Mayor Widner seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, so the next item is a public meeting. So with the resolution, we'll adjourn and sit in the proper. Thank you.
The council adjourns its regular meeting at 7:31 PM in order to convene in a public meeting under section 3412 of the Planning Act.
Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Leach moves, Councilor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. So this is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to allow any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment relating to the property known municipally as 51195 Ron McNeil Line. So Clerk Adams, can you let us know of the method of notice and when the notice was given for this public meeting?
The public meeting was advertised in the Aylmer Express for 2 consecutive weeks on July 8th and July 15th. Notices were mailed to affected property owners within 120 meters at least 20 days before the meeting, and the notice was also posted on the township website on June 26th.
Thank you. And Mr. Steele, can you provide an overview of this application?
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject lands consist of a commercial property on Main Street, Springfield, that contain Springfield Food Mart, and the owner is proposing to renovate the building to add a residential unit at the rear of the property. The zoning bylaw requires that for mixed-use buildings, that residential units be located above the main floor. The intent being to ensure that the principal use of the main floor is a commercial use. In this case, approximately 57 square meters, or about 600 square feet, of the main floor would be renovated into a portion of the residential unit. And so the owner is seeking an exception to allow this. Staff reviewed the application, find that it is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms to the county and Malahide official plans. No comments have been received from agencies or public prior to the meeting, and so staff are recommending the application be approved. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to questions, members of council.
Okay, and just before I open it, council, we'll just check, is there anyone in attendance? Do you want to add anything to the application or? You're good? Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? So if there, I'll just add that if there are if there's no further discussion, please be advised that any person wishing to obtain further information regarding the passing of the proposed bylaw amendment should contact the clerk. And for now, we'll proceed with the adjournment.
That the planning public meeting adjourn at 7:34 PM and council reconvene in its regular meeting in order to continue with its deliberations.
Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Serna moves, Councilor Leach seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And now the resolution for the consideration of the planner's report.
The report number DS 26-19 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application of Florentini Cabrera Co. Yazur Eid, Ivy Build Inc., relating to the property located at Plan 78, Lot 12, part of Lot 13, 51195 Ron McNeil Line be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z04-26 of Florentini Cabrera Co. Yazur Eid, Ivy Build Inc., relating to the property located at Plan 78, Lot 12, part of Lot 13, and known municipally as 51195 Ron McNeil Line be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Lewis moves. Councilor Serna seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, so this brings us to the next section of our agenda is delegation. The first delegation this evening is a verbal presentation from Mr. McIntyre. Please come on up. Welcome.
Yeah, there's been a lot of enhancements, although I watch the meetings, every meeting, but I sit at home or in the comfort of my own home and watch them, or while I'm out of the country, but glad to be here. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and staff. On behalf of many residents of the Springfield area zone, I appear before council tonight to express their concern about the safety and cosmetic appearance of the sidewalks in Springfield. In 2021, council amended the official plan, excuse me, such that future growth in the township, residential growth would be directed to Springfield. That was passed in their official plan update at that time. In hindsight, part of the growth plan going forward should have included plans to maintain and enhance services like the sidewalks and other things within the village. Council and staff of Team Malahide continue to demonstrate that based on 5, 10, and even 20-year proactive planning, they will replace or maintain equipment at a level beyond minimum requirements. Examples of that are 2 or 3 HVAC systems that are still working but are being replaced now, a new fire truck, road maintenance and reconstruction, and various other equipment in the township. They don't maintain it to minimum standard. They take pride and maintain it to a higher level standard, which we certainly appreciate. In December 2025, while reviewing the draft 2026 township budget, I expressed concern in writing that the $5,000 budget for sidewalk maintenance should be increased. The written response that I got back to that was, and this is a quote, "There are 15 panels identified for replacement in Springfield and another 114 panels identified for repair. This work was to be initiated in 2025. However, in speaking with the managers, more recently it was confirmed that no repairs will be completed in 2025. The identified repairs will be phased in starting in 2026 with a $5,000 annual repair until this project is completed." We have a new pad up for a bench up in the park there, and I think that if all the costs were added up, it would be close to $5,000 for that little pad. So to say you're going to put $5,000 in all the sidewalks is nothing. If I could, I'd like to at this time hand out something. You know, if we could just pass them around or what's appropriate. If I could have one more back, I want to make sure these 2 gentlemen get one. I didn't hand that out right away because I was afraid everybody focused on the pictures and would not listen to what I was trying to say. So, but anyway, these are pictures taken last week. And these are only 4 examples. There's a lot more of the condition of the streets in Springfield. If you look at the one on the first page and the one behind it, the one behind it actually is a sidewalk in front of the school. This sidewalk was done as a renovation repair. When I was on council, it was done by Dave Peters. He built a little machine so he could pave sidewalks because we didn't have money to cement them. That was done 40 years ago. So that sidewalk stood up pretty good for being 40 years old. But I mean, it's been marked 3 or 4 different times in their annual inspections. But we're not looking for more paint on the streets. We're looking for something to be done with the streets. The other one happens to be right on the main street. right in front of the pizza place where the overgrown is and the asphalt and all that stuff. That's a good example of that. Probably one of the few active businesses we have in the village. But to get into the pizza place, you have to walk over that. And there's grass and weeds all the way up the street. The next one is a sidewalk on, I believe it's called Whitaker Road, where the gravel has run down. And that didn't just happen last week's rain or the week before's rain. Some of that gravel has been there 2 or 3 years, so it's been there a long time. And I've spoken to a resident who prides herself and they're trying to be active. Unfortunately, now they've got to the point where they have to use a walker. They're unable to walk to the post office due to this gravel on that sidewalk. They can't get their little machine to wheel over top of it. And they have difficulty coming down the main street due to the condition of that. So that's just some pictures. And the pictures that were distributed are samples of the sidewalk that need to be fixed, starting with this council in 2026. Not deferral for yet another year should not be an option. I mean, so I'll go on for, if I could, just to curb a rumor that I think was mentioned last year, that the appearance of the sidewalk in front of the post office is disgusting. Granted, it does conform to the minimum standard, which is 2 centimeters, but my God, I've fallen on things that without having two centimeters to get over it. And it's an embarrassment just to see it. And I know the post office, the people that manage the post office have contacted the township 2 or 3 occasions. We seem to get a new color of paint painted on it every year, but we still have the cracks in the sidewalk. I will, and I know one thing that somebody will say is we can't do anything this year because there's no money in the budget. Okay, I'm going to give you a few facts, and this is all based on information from the township. The money to start this project now should be available from various sources. I went back 6 years, and in the last 6 years, the total amount budgeted for sidewalk maintenance from the special area rate and general taxation levy amounts to $30,000. So in the last 6 years, and I didn't go back further, but it's $30,000. The average annual dollars spent on the sidewalk maintenance over the last 6 years, are you ready for this? $33.83. So in other words, in the last 6 years, the total based on budget information that I got from the township is they spent a total of $203 in the last 6 years on sidewalk maintenance. So the excess levy of $29,797 was not spent, and that money has either gone forward in the annual surplus or has been set aside in a reserve for the future. So to say we don't have money, $29,797. Like other budget items, money can be overspent this year and shown as an actual exceeding the budget. If you go through the budget, there's several items that you've gone over budget. So I'm sure, I mean, we're talking a $8 million operating budget. $33.83 isn't much. Springfield residents only, just people from Springfield, have been levied a special area tax ever since the village of Springfield was amalgamated as part of Malahide Township. The special reserve account was to be used to replace and or repair sidewalks and street lights only in Springfield. So this reserve is only money put in by people in Springfield. People in Mount Salem or Avon have put nothing towards it. We were fortunate enough to have a treasurer a couple of years ago that took the time to figure out what was actually in that reserve. I complained about the reserve starting in, probably before, but at least in 2018. Finally, Adam Boylan spent days sifting through and trying to figure this out. And as a result of it, it was discovered as of January 1st, 2026, there's $329,773 sitting in a reserve to repair streetlights and replace them. And with over $19,000 being budgeted for interest on that account, the projected amount of money in that account by the end of this year will be $348,873. And what a suggestion I would have, if for some shocking reason the council can't find money to cover their share, which is they're responsible for 60% of these repairs, and the special area rate pays for 40%. So if they can't find the money, why don't you borrow it from this reserve? We'll give it to you at a reasonable rate of interest, or in fact, no interest, and get the damn thing going. I'm sure that, yeah. Well, I am sure that all members of council already know that since at least 2018, I have objected to the special area charges. I continue to watch the sidewalks deteriorate while we're still paying money every year to go into a fund to repair the sidewalks. We've knocked it down a lot, because we probably got enough money in here to replace all the sidewalks in Springfield right now. So why? And I guess, and I'm not being critical of anybody. I'm trying to provide some constructive criticism, if I could use that word. And one thing I did ask, going back to December of last year, we've identified 15 panels that need to be replaced and 114 that need to be repaired. I did ask at that time, how much money is that? I think whenever you're doing anything, one of the first questions is how much money it is. Because if the intent is only to put $5,000 a year towards this, sidewalks will be a thing of the past by the time you get the ones identified to this point. So I just appear here. I did think about taking up a petition. I could do that if you want. And I'm sure that, I mean, we'd have no problem getting it signed by everybody. It's a disgrace. I've lived in Springfield I've lived in Malahide Township for 79 years. 1 minute? Okay. Well, 79 years. And I'm proud of it. I spent 30 years on municipal councils, and I'm known as a tax activist now, but I prefer, because my 2 daughters and families live in the township and I do, I'm a concerned citizen. I hope council can step up to the plate and start to get something done. And I'm sure that all the residents of Springfield would appreciate it. Thank you for the time. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you. Thank you for taking the time to share the concern with us. And we know it is shared in the community as well. So maybe I'll invite, Director Godby, did you want to provide a few comments? And the plan this evening, this is a delegation, so we're not going to resolve the issue. We're going to receive your delegation, but I thought to start just a few comments, and then for sure there will be further discussion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. I guess to Mr. McIntyre, if I may, I just have one first question. This first picture is that Whitaker, or is that Springfield Road? This first one here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that with that sidewalk in particular. There is some correspondence back in our files that we're not maintaining that for whatever reason. And that's why it's been still in that state. The same goes with the school. Those two pieces have never been formally deemed sidewalk for whatever reason. And that is why they're kind of currently in that state. So with respect to the school piece in particular, it is staff's intention in the 2027 budget to be bringing forward a capital project to finish that piece. It has been anecdotally explained to me that there's been attempts in the past to have it replaced, and there was some concerns about some of the trees and impacts that were going to be made there. It's also my understanding that the school was doing some work. We had hoped that maybe we could convince them to do some sidewalk upgrades there. That didn't work out. So that is one that we have specifically identified, and this will be brought forward to this council for consideration in the 2027 capital budget to complete that piece. With respect to the rest of the sidewalk panels in general, I can say that I was involved in some of the conversation last fall through, I think most of it was handled through Talia. However, as a result of a lot of those conversations, one of the things that we did do is back in May of 2026, we did issue a tender for the replacement of various sidewalk panels throughout the village. That included 7 specific locations with various sizes, various number of panels. It was approximately 93 square meters of sidewalk that we were looking to be replaced that are at or near MMS deficiency standpoint. Included in that, we also took advantage of requesting provisional pricing for an additional 17 locations covering approximately another 150 square meters of sidewalk. So we have pricing. We have awarded the MMS related issues as being the 7 locations I referenced to J. Franz Concrete. They are committed to having that work completed prior to September 1st before the school gets back in. Just makes it a whole lot easier to not have that work happening when there are more kids actually using the sidewalks heading to the school on a daily basis. So our intent, so your timing is perfect for me if I can be blunt. It was my intent to have a staff report coming to this council with this information recommending that we do the additional provisional items that we've now received actual tender pricing for. So we are looking at approximately $13,000 to do our MMS related items at those 7 locations. Priority item being in front of the sidewalk is one of them, or sorry, in front of the sidewalk in front of the post office being one. The other area that you had identified in your pictures being in front of the pizza place, that is also in that list of our what we had identified as priority items. And then we are looking at approximately another $20,000 for all those additional provisional replacements. So that extra 150 square meters of sidewalk in various locations throughout the village. I do have the actual drawing set that was prepared by our manager of roads and construction, identifying all that. If anyone does care to review those, we can go through those as you wish. But it was actually my hope that as this, with this, in conjunction with this deputation and with our hope that we were going to be coming to council asking for some additional funding and to take a draw on the sidewalk reserve, because as you've mentioned, it is well in excess of $300,000 now, with the intention of keeping sidewalks in good shape within Springfield. that we could use that money, totaling approximately $33,000 plus HST, that we could make that draw on the reserves in order to get all of this work completed in 2026. With that being said, our contractor has also verified that they have not started yet. They're in the process of getting locates right now. So the work is relatively imminent, that we would be looking to have all of that work done by the time September rolls around. If there are any other questions, I guess I'm happy to entertain.
So briefly, Mr. McIntyre?
All right, that's the best news I've heard today. A couple of things I didn't understand. Why the repairs that you're going to do, is that based on a 40% from reserve and 60% from the township? For funding?
Through the chair to Mr. McIntyre, no, right now I haven't dug deeply into the whole financing bit of it. That is partially why we don't have a report here today, because that 60-40 split, I know there is some nuance to how that gets funded. So ultimately, if I can spend $34,000, I will do all of the sidewalk work. There's a certain portion that I guess can come out of the sidewalk reserve.
I have documentation from the township that I'd be glad to share with you that outlines what the shared things are. Couple of things I'll comment. I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to do something till 2027 about, I think, was that in regards to the front of the school? Yeah, I would.
Yes, through the chair. That piece in front of the school has just been, it hadn't been factored into the plans for 2026, and being the cost, we anticipate that we're probably looking at $30,000 to $50,000 just for that piece to do that full frontage of the school. By the time we do full proper site preparation in there, that's why there was no intent to add that on as an additional ask for the 2026 budget, and why it was our hope to bring it forward as the 2027.
I'd like to ask the council do that this year, because it is approximately 200 feet. And I assume you're going to make it 5 feet wide. And it runs about $135 a foot to do it. So that kind of gives you, based on what I could find out. Another thing I will comment, there's parts of town where they decided to remove the sidewalks in the past and put grass over top of it. Those areas look wonderful. I can show you 3 or 4. Being old, I was a little bit hesitant about that, but they look wonderful. And I really encourage that in front of on Springfield Road to do that. I mean, the issue going back was when a former resident lived in that house, they were afraid to do anything. But in reality, we have a business there on the corner that most of the time they have equipment blocking the road, which I have no problem. I'm damn glad to have a business in Springfield, and I don't care if they block the road, and there's nobody to use that side of the sidewalk. So I think you should be able to just rip it up and put grass seed down. A sidewalk on one side of the street is more than sufficient. And I don't know if I said this or not, but the plan is that the county has no plans to do any reconstruction in the village of Springfield to the year 2031. So if we're hoping to get sidewalks done, which they will be doing at that time, and the county picking it up, we can look at 2031.
We'll bring further information on that. I think sidewalks, even though the county may do the reconstruction, the sidewalks are still the responsibility of the local municipality. But I think for today, just to focus on the.
Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, this was very helpful.
I
timely.
appreciate Jason doing his report, and that he's obviously. Oh, the other thing is, what is going to be done about getting the gravel off all the sidewalks? I mean, it's not just the one up by that's a hazard right there. And there's a lot of areas where if you just had a sweeper to sweep the sidewalks once in the village, it would get the sand from the winter off them.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you.
I see Mr. Godby with his pen, and so I think it is literally noted. Counselor Cerna, you had one more comment?
Well, not a comment so much as an inquiry. I'm getting a little confused here. This fund that they're talking about, the excess $300,000 or whatever it was for Springfield sidewalks that has been collected over the years, is that just the taxpayers' money that's been put into an account? Or is that like, where's that money
Just
come from?
because the funding, as was alluded to, it is a bit complex, and today, like this portion of the agenda is to receive a delegation, and we know now there's a report coming. So I'm going to suggest we make sure that the details of, so that in the background of the report, we will have that
Okay,
information.
well, I'd like
It's
to know
worth- Yes.
where it came from. Like, is
Yes.
it township money and matching? Is it the 60-40 split, or
Yeah,
is it
all of
all
it.
just the Springfield money?
Yeah.
Or whatever? I'd like to know that.
So
Thank you.
I'll provide that in the background
Perfect.
and the
That's all
content.
I'm asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Final comments? Yes.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, through you. I guess just looking for some clarity of action here. The original intent, hoping to have having a report is going, and a new report is going to push us to August 20th, in which case we are not going to be able to execute on anything with a September 1st deadline. Now that was our desire, and it's not to say that we can't go beyond that. But I guess we're looking at we're already going to proceed and have the contractor in town doing the first bit, though, those high priority items where we have MMS deficiency. We have, I guess I have directed staff that to go in excess of the $5,000 allotment within the operating budget in order to ensure that this work, which has safety implications, is done. The additional $20,000 that we would need in order to do everything else is still kind of up in the air. However, it would be my desire that if council could give me direction to award that work and proceed with it. And I don't know, like it's difficult without our treasurer being here to provide some of those fine details on exactly how the funding is going to come, other than to say between the existing capital reserve and the existing sidewalk replacement reserve that we could likely drum up the required money to complete all this work, and then that direction could be given to the contractor in order to complete that. So I just don't want to miss that opportunity.
So, also noted. I just want to respect the fact that we are in the delegation section to receive and not, I don't think that council has all of the information. There's a lot of nuances in terms of funding. Like, we need to do this very carefully. The time sensitive aspect is heard. I believe we will probably recess at 8:30 just to confer. There's always an opportunity for a quick special meeting. We've done this before when something is critical, is important and time sensitive. I just want to make sure we don't rush into a decision. That's not our practice to not, like particularly we're spending money a little bit outside of what is planned in the budget initially, and that requires the proper documentation with our treasurer and for consideration by council. So in the delegation, now we know what we need to do. The timing of it, I think we can address. So thank you, everybody for, everybody will spring into action, no pun intended. So with that, may I have a resolution to receive one more question, Deputy Mayor?
First one. Yeah, just for you to Jason. The sidewalk by Springfield School, did you say that wasn't ours or it is ours? I'm not, let's clarify that if you could.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. Yeah, it's within the road allowance, but it's not generally been historically been accepted and maintained by the municipality. It doesn't meet those minimum requirements. We don't run the sidewalk plow during the winter. It is because of the fact it doesn't meet the width requirements, and it is this falling apart asphalt thing. It's kind of just been left and ignored, much to my surprise. So that is why there's not a whole lot that's been done there, and why it's never been flagged year after year for its current state. There are a few other areas within the municipality where we have pieces like this in similar that have been generally considered substandard installations that were never fully adopted into our sidewalk network and our sidewalk maintenance program.
Okay, thank you. That helps to clarify it. I went down and looked at it. It's more of a pump track for the young guys in their bicycles than anything else because it is pretty tough. But we don't have to do it because it never met the standards, so that's the out, right? Okay, thank you.
One more question.
Nope. Thanks, you. Sorry, we can have a conversation for sure. We have another delegation and we've exceeded the time for this one. So there will clearly be more discussion. So to be continued, but for tonight, the resolution, please.
That the presentation from Bill McIntyre regarding sidewalk maintenance in the village of Springfield be received for information.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. And thank you once again. So our next delegation from Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, an update on the consolidation process and budget and all that fun stuff. Ms. Van Huren, welcome, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm going to talk to you about two related aspects of the presentation. One is to give you as much information as I can on the amalgamation of the conservation authorities across the province, and the other is to detail our proposed 2027 budget for Kettle Creek Conservation Authority. So as you may know, the province has directed the amalgamation of the 36 conservation authorities in the province into 9 regional CAs. For us locally, that means an amalgamation of Kettle, Catfish, Long Point, and Grand River Conservation Authority. And this is all set to occur by February 1st, 2027. So the transition to this new entity is being overseen by the Ontario Provincial Conservation Authority. And this is a new agency of the province that will take the lead over the resources of the CAs and oversee this consolidation and amalgamation. There will be one project executive that will be assigned to each region. And at the time of my forwarding my presentation, we didn't know who that project executive is, but it was announced yesterday that our project executive for this region will be Samantha Lawson, and she is the current CAO of the Grand River Conservation Authority. So she's been with the Grand River for 21 years, the last 7 as the CAO. So we're lucky to have someone with that amount of experience and within the 4 CAs network to be able to lead us through this transition. Now that she's been named the project executive for the region, she will also serve as the inaugural general manager or CAO of the new regional body for a minimum of first 2 years, again, to provide that transition and continuity through this process. So we now know the project executive, Samantha, will chair the Regional Conservation Authority's Transition Committee, and the Transition Committee will be made up of representatives from the 4 CAs. They will be the CAO, general manager of each conservation authority, as well as one elected official. And each CA was asked to name those representatives to the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency by June 30th. And so now that we have our project executive, we relatively know who's going to be sitting on that committee. I expect that over the next couple of weeks, you'll really see that transition committee begin to sit and begin to deliberate on how this amalgamation will occur on February 1st, 2027. In the background, there's been a lot of work already begun by the province. So the province did hire Ernst Young to develop snapshots of each CA. So we have the opportunity to sit down with that firm and talk about what makes our local CA unique, kind of tell them how our programs and services run, and identify any concerns that we might have with the amalgamation. EY will be taking that snapshot and they'll be sharing it with each individual CA, but they'll also be using those 36 snapshots from across the province to come up with what they're describing as a provincial playbook of how a transition should happen. And those will be provided to the transition committees once they're up and running, and then it will be up to those transition committees to use that provincial playbook to decide and determine how the amalgamation will happen locally. So lots of different levels, lots of things happening here. But I think once the transition committee gets up and running, we'll be able to share more information, and that kind of that perspective will become more clear. Locally, what we've done as the 4 CAs, seeing that the transition committee was not going to be established or really get up and running until later this summer, we already closely work together with the other CAs because we're part of the same source protection region. So we've had years of working together. So the chairs and the GMs sat down and began to think of how do we really want this amalgamation to take shape. And while we don't have all the answers, what we were able to do is really sit down and say, we know what we don't want to change. We know what we kind of want to build into this transition. And so that's where we really developed these guiding principles for transition. It's a set of 7 principles, what we want to go into this amalgamation, knowing that we want to protect. None of them, we haven't listed them in order of priority. In fact, for me, I think the transparency, trust, and clear communication is a clear winner when we're looking at those. If we approach this process with transparency, with trust, and clear communication, not only among us, but with our member municipalities, then all the other things are really going to fall in place. And the other elements that we want to protect are accountable, transparent governance, fiscal responsibility, workforce stability, service excellence, watershed-based science. Watershed-based science is important. It's what the conservation authorities were built on for the last 80 years, is to know that science is behind all the directions that we take. And if we keep that at the forefront as well, we'll be able to deliver uninterrupted delivery of critical services during this transition period as well. So the ability to continue to provide flood forecasting and planning act and regulation all the way through this transition as well. So there's no doubt that this is a pivotal moment for the CAs. Change is always difficult, but I think as a collective, we're approaching this with a shared commitment to ensure that the future is based on openness, transparency, and builds on our shared histories. We did forward the joint statement of our 4 CA chairs, and I think they said it best in saying that this is a pivotal moment, but we're taking the opportunity to work together and really establish a path forward of continuous improvement. So the province does have a very aggressive timeline to get this amalgamation in place before February 1st. You can see kind of a timeline in front of you here. Really, we're right in the middle of things, lots to be done throughout this fall period. We now, once I said, have our project executive in place, and I do expect over the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to see those transition committees really begin to take shape and begin to meet and consider some of the key things that need to be done and considered before February 1st. So again, just another look at what we're kind of the organization of the transition moving forward. You have the Regional Transition Committee. It's going to be chaired by that project executive, representatives from each of the 4 CAs. And the first thing that we'll be doing is sitting down, looking at that playbook, and then begin working on transition plans that will encompass things like human resources, governance, finance, digital, and our programs and services. So moving on, until that time, basically it really is business as usual, as much as we can through this period. The province has come out with 2 ministers' orders since May 1st. The first one on May 1st was that they came out and directed all CAs must now seek permission for transactions over $500,000 or 10% of their operating budget that are occurring up to during this transition period. So if we have anything that falls into play like that, we just simply submit that to the Ontario Provincial Conservation Authority. They review it, and they're actually being quite accommodating, getting back to us with a yay or nay to proceed with that. The other directive was just released on June 26th, and it instructs CAs to have their 2027 budget and apportionment amounts approved by December 31st, 2027. So normally in a normal year, you wouldn't hear from me probably until November, December, where I'm actually out with our next year budget. But it was really important for our board. They thought that it was important to look at and get this out prior to the municipal election in October, so that these councils and this board has a say in what that budget looks like for 2027. One thing to keep in mind is that the 2027 budget, the province is saying that the participating municipalities as of today are responsible for that 2027 budget apportionment. So you can see on the screen on the left, we have 7 member municipalities today. Those 7 municipalities will continue to be apportioned for the 2027 budget. After February 1st, the new participating municipalities of the regional CA will be responsible for the apportionment, starting with the 2028 budget. So locally, what that will mean in terms of Kettle Creek and to a certain extent Catfish, it would be the City of London, Elgin County, St. Thomas, and Middlesex County. So moving forward with the regional CAs, it will be the upper tier and single tier municipalities, not the lower tier, that will be involved in the apportionment of costs. So, as I mentioned, it was important for our current board that our 2027 budget be floated and approved in advance of that December 31st timeline. And when reviewing it, they thought it was important to get out and have these municipal councils, these representatives in our boards playing into that and informing that budget. For us, it's been relatively easy to come out this early with the budget simply because we do have a 4-year budget planning cycle. So we've looked at it, 4 years ago with this council or with this board, and we simply tweak it every year. And it's based on our basically a 4-year strategic work plan as well. So we're building on those successes over the last 4 years with this final year of that 4-year budget plan. We've invested over $233,000 in floodplain mapping. So far, we've looked and updated all our floodplain mapping in what we call our flood damage centers, so major areas where we see flooding. And we've been able to do that with a mixture of reserve funds as well as provincial and federal funding opportunities. So we've really been aggressive on that in the last couple of years, and I'm pleased with the progress that we've made. Now that we have those damage centers done, so City of St. Thomas, Port Stanley, we're moving on and taking on bigger chunks of the watershed. So this year we were again successful in getting some funding, and we're taking on the Upper Kettle Creek subwatershed, and then we'll be moving on to the lower and upper Kettle watershed in future years. This will allow us to be financially responsible and ensure that we're constantly updating floodplain mapping across the watershed, which the province has dictated we should be doing every 5 years. We were also able last year and then made it live this year to update all of our regulation mapping for the watershed. And we've been able to make that live on our website. And then we will be consistently updating that and reviewing that on an annual basis as well. When we build our budget, we don't just look to the municipal apportionment as a way to make ends meet. We're also constantly looking at ways that we can increase our own revenue sources. We have introduced 4 rentable cabins at Lake Whitaker. Their first year was last year, and in their first year, they generated over $36,000 in revenue. And so we are looking at using our own reserves to introduce additional cabins, which will mean that we will again be able to increase and sustain our self-generated revenue. The board also approved 15 new campsites at Dalewood with the same incentive to maintain or increase our self-generated revenue. And so this year will be the first year that we'll see revenue generated off of those 15 campsites at Dalewood. What this means for the 2027 budget, in accordance with that 4-year plan, we are looking at a 4% increase for over the 2026 levels, which is $52,000. That translates to an increase of $272 for the Township of Malahide over the 2026 levels. Some of the cost control measures that we've built into this 2027 budget, we continue to manage our reserves, and this 2027 budget includes a drawdown of reserves of $191,000. We continue to look at ways to control costs, and one of the ways we do so is adopting open source software for data management and mapping, and that's resulted in about $10,000 in savings per year. We do modest increases for uncontrolled costs like our garbage and insurance, and we continue to contain salary increases as well. To offset municipal apportionment increases, I just spoke on this, we're increasing revenue projections by about 2.5% for 2027. Looking to introduce additional cabins to increase revenue. And in this way, we support roughly 40% of our own wages through self-generated revenue. So in terms of the budget approval timeline, it does look a little different. The board did look at a first draft budget in June and approved it for release to the public and to our member municipalities for consultation. So that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. We continue to modify it and bring new things into it. The municipal apportionment vote, however, will be on August 12th. That's a weighted vote for our member municipalities. And at that time, we'll also look at the second draft budget, which will include capital expenditures. All of our capital expenditures do not have any impact to the municipal apportionment. We handle all of that through reserves. And then we'll look at the final budget on September 16th. And again, by weighted vote, all with the aim to have this tied up well in advance of the municipal election, as well as the timeline that the province has set of December 31st, 2026. So with that, I welcome questions. I know it's a lot to take in, and I don't have answers. I might not have answers to all the questions, but I'm certainly willing to entertain them.
Thank you so much. Really good overview. Questions or comments? Councillor Leach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. So my first question is, will the resources that exist in the current CA, will it remain in the distinct entity, or such as the revenue generated, is it going to stay within the watershed moving forward? Do you have any clear idea on what could be?
Thank you. I appreciate the question. It's a question that's come up a lot around the board table as well as other members of the public. I can't make any guarantees in that, both from revenue generated locally, but also our reserves. What I have been saying is basically, I think all the boards and the current boards respect that the funds raised locally in reserves, every board has that concern. And I think that we'll be bringing that into those transition committee talks of looking at ways to protect that, because I think it's important to the boards, it's important to the municipalities, and I think it's important to the communities that those funds are protected. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. That's reassuring, but we'll wait and see.
Right.
Correct? My next question is, what administrative functional changes will municipalities need to plan or anticipate for regarding the reporting and consultation needs with the amalgamated conservation area with the change from the lower to upper tier members?
Thank you. Through the mayor, I think the biggest change will be that when we're doing presentations on the regional CA board, those presentations will be coming to the upper tier and the single tier municipalities. So for Malahide, your representation or input into that regional CA will really be at the Elgin County level. And so it's yet to be determined in terms of what that representation will look like, even at the county level. That'll still have to take shape, because you will now, I forget how many upper tier and single tier municipalities there are in our region, but there will be, the region of Waterloo will have representation, Elgin County will have representation, and all that will have to be worked out. Similarly to how it is today, it's based on your population within the watershed, but I don't have those exact numbers of what representation will look like on that regional level. But you as a Malahide Township will no longer have a Malahide Township representative on the regional board. It will come through Elgin County.
Yes. So when we receive that was a good answer, but not quite what my intention was.
Okay.
When we request a report for a property, we typically receive something back directly from our whichever conservation area is currently reporting for us. So we will be eliminated as a lower tier completely from getting any of the individual land reports.
No, sorry, through the mayor. I think if what you're asking for is the local regulation staff will still be local. And I think you see that in our guiding principles, that I think it'll be important to have staff working locally. What that looks like, I can't really comment on, but you will still have a CA representative looking at permits locally and be giving that guidance back to your staff through that. So there'll still be CA employees doing all of that good work that you've been used to. It's going to look a little different.
Thank you. That's, again, reassuring, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions, clarifications? Another one to be continued.
Yes.
And further updates. So thank you. I appreciate you taking the time for this update at this particular time. It's very useful. So a resolution to receive the delegation, please?
That the presentation from Elizabeth Van Horn of Kettle Creek Conservation Authority regarding Conservation Authority consolidation be received for information.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Cerna seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. A little recess and yeah, I think we need a recess either way, but I think it sounds like we can make it even more exciting than usual. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Okay, welcome back. We're ready to proceed with the next section of the agenda under new business. The first item is a consent application. And we have Mr. Steele. Thank you also for your patience. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Two consent applications have been circulated by the County of Elgin to the township. The proposal is to create two new residential lots within Springfield. The retained lot will contain an existing dwelling. The lands are located within a flood fringe area of Springfield based off of historic mapping from the Conservation Authority. As part of their application submission, a flood study was prepared and submitted. Basically, the purpose of that is to identify if there's been any changes over time to the flooding limits. And so that report has concluded that the proposed lots would be able to accommodate future residential units that would be able to be outside of that regulatory flood limit, and those developments would be subject to future comment and approval from the Conservation Authority with regard to any requirements for things like minimum floodproofing building requirements, and all that would be secured through the CA's permit approval process. Additionally, Public Works staff have noted that new sanitary sewer stubs, vehicle entrances, and drainage outlets would all be required, and this would all be secured through the proposed conditions that recommend the township to be applied to any kind of approval granted by the Land Division Committee. Additionally, it's noted that there are a number of exceptions that be required to the zoning bylaw related to reduced lot area, reduced lot frontage, and reduced rear yard setbacks. And so those would all be required to be addressed through a future zoning bylaw amendment application that would also be secured through a recommended condition of any consent approval. And through that process, those provisions would be further evaluated and justification would be required to support any kind of reduction from the current zoning bylaw. And so overall, staff have reviewed the application and are recommending that the application be approved, subject to the recommended conditions that have been attached with the consent agenda. And with that, I have to take questions from any members of council.
Thank you. Open it up for comments or questions. Seeing none. The resolution, please.
That report number DS 2618 entitled Application for Consent to Sever number E44-26 and E45-26 of Fenton Weave and Maria Ham, Co. Dave Clausen be received, and that the application for consent to sever Fenton Weave and Maria Ham, Co. Dave Clausen relating to the property located at Plan 78, lots 49, 50, and 51, and known municipally as 51206 Courtright Street be supported for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report and the recommended conditions be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Thank you. A mover and seconder, please. Councilor Cerna moves. Councilor Lewis seconds. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Steele. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
As well.
And the next report under new business is from Director Sport, the quarterly report.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Pleased to present to you the Fire and Emergency Services Quarterly Report for the second quarter of 2026, covering April through June. During the quarter, Malloy Fire Service responded to 101 emergency incidents, which is consistent with our previous years and demonstrates a continued steady demand for emergency services. We also responded to 5 fire incidents with an estimated total property loss of $50,000. Training remained a major focus in our quarter. Our firefighters completed 6 department training sessions covering water supply, rescue, ventilation, ladders, and commercial building operations. In addition, 4 recruits successfully graduated from the Elgin Middlesex Regional Fire School, bringing the total number of newer firefighters welcome to the department this year to 6. Community engagement also remained very active. Our fire prevention team participated in 10 community events. delivering fire safety education to thousands of residents. One initiative I'd like to highlight is the installation of 102 combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms within our local Amish community, helping improve life safety while ensuring compliance with our new provincial carbon monoxide legislation. Operationally, we issued 144 burn permits, completed commercial fire inspections, continued preventative maintenance on our fleet and equipment, and generated nearly $20,000 in departmental revenue through cost recovery services, training, and facility rentals. A significant milestone in this quarter was delivery of our department's new tanker, which we pushed in tonight. And that apparatus is purchased collaboratively with Bayham and West Elgin, allowing the three municipalities to achieve cost savings through our joint procurement procedures. Finally, our municipal emergency control group completed its annual emergency management exercise with Elgin County and the town of Aylmer, strengthening emergency preparedness and intermunicipal coordination. Overall, the second quarter reflects a department that continues to maintain strong emergency response capabilities while investing in firefighter training, community risk reduction, regional partnerships, and responsible stewardship of municipal resources. Thank you. I'd be pleased to answer any questions from council.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through the Chief Spur, I guess we got our new truck. We pushed it in tonight. Are we going to be divesting a unit? And how are we going to do that?
We have the tanker that's going to be currently coming out of service right here. I do have a letter from a municipality up by Ottawa that's wishing to purchase the vehicle and has put an offer into it. But I've also reached out to a couple truck brokers to facilitate what a reasonable cost to recover would be. So I think that my plan would be to list it with them for a short term and keep that offer open. They have the money, they've approved it through their council already. If that's what we accept, then we'll take it. But I just to make sure we make it a fair process and make sure we get our return on our investment as much as we can, we'll list it with this apparatus manufacturer and see if they'll be able to sell it in a couple of weeks for us. So.
Great, thank you for that. I'm sure you're doing your best to get the best bang for a buck. You always do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments? Really, really nice to see the outreach to the Amish, proactive outreach with the smoke carbon monoxide.
Yeah, we did a few door-to-doors there when we're doing our door-to-door things, and we found that there was a real discrepancy on them having the ability to get them and stuff. So they purchased them, but we purchased them through the Fire Safety Council, which gave them to a discount price, and they gave them all the same stuff to use. They got 10-year batteries, and they've all got a lot of their places compliant. We did a batch purchase originally, and then a bunch of them, the word gets around, and then the other ones complied as well. So I think we've got a lot better compliance in the Amish community now for some safety for them. So it'll be well received. So
fantastic. Thank you so much for that. So if there are no further questions or comments, the resolution to receive the report.
The report number F2606 entitled Emergency Services Quarterly Report, April to June, be received for information.
Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Glinsky moves. Councilor Leach seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Next item is the Development Charges Bylaw Amendment, CO Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor Giguere. This report is really administrative in nature. Our current development charges bylaw expires on September 2nd, 2026. Since the bylaw was adopted, the legislation has changed, allowing municipalities to extend an existing bylaw by amendment. The township is currently working with Watson & Associates on a new development charges background study, which is expected to be completed by the end of this year. Following that, there are mandatory public consultation and notice requirements before council can adopt a new bylaw. So staff are therefore recommending extending the current bylaw until April 30th, 2027. This ensures that there is no gap in the township's ability to collect development charges while the study is finalized and the legislative process is completed. This amendment does not change any development charges rates. It simply extends the existing bylaw until the updated bylaw is brought forward for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Straightforward. So a resolution, please.
that the Township's Development Charges DC Bylaw 2163 be amended as per Schedule B of this report, extending the expiry date of the current bylaw to April 30th, 2027.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. The next item under new business is the single source for the MCP HVAC procurement. Director Gobby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council. Report PW 26-25. I am seeking council's permission to use a single source procurement approach for the HVAC replacement project at MCP. Specifically, we're requesting that rather than having an open tender for all manufacturers and suppliers to bid on, that we are able to specify Carrier HVAC equipment as being the the manufacturer of the equipment that would be reinstalled at MCP. The reason for this is the existing building controls and automation and everything else, all the internal wiring and thermostats and system controls are Carrier. The existing units in that building are Carrier. So the budget had been developed for this project, not for a wholesale replacement, including all those controls. So right now we're looking down at a project where we need to upgrade these units. However, it had not been contemplated of also to do replacement of all of the control systems. If we do not specify Carrier as the unit that we want, what we will end up with is bids that will perhaps bid other actual HVAC systems that are incompatible with the control system. Therefore, we will also need to increase the scope of the project and replace the control systems as well. So it is our opinion that the best value that we're going to get out of this would be to keep that control system, which is functioning just fine, at the site, and just write our tender so that we say, hey, it needs to be Carrier system fully compatible with the existing controls that are inside the building. The rest of the procurement will be open, meaning that as long as you're going to propose to install a Carrier, that is totally fine, and anyone else can bid on that, provided that it is a Carrier unit. The other aspect of this that we've looked at is, or that needs to be considered, is that even with a Carrier replacement being our hopeful lowest cost alternative, because the controls won't also need to be replaced, I would highlight that staff are not overly confident that the existing $102,000 budget that is currently set, that has currently been approved for this project, will be sufficient. However, until we actually get tender pricing, we can't really give a better estimation of what we may or may not be off by. So we're not seeking full approval to proceed, other than we want to issue the tender saying we want a Carrier unit to be installed, give us pricing. When that pricing comes back, we will come back to council and say whether we are within or outside of our budget for this project. If there's any questions, I will happily answer.
Thank you. Counselor Glinski.
Just a quick question. The controls, are they guaranteed since they're going to be old? What's saying that they're not going to give out tomorrow and we have to turn around and pay top buck for controls as opposed to tendering it originally? I'm not saying that we should. I'm just asking, if this happens, where are we sitting as far as the situation is concerned?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Councillor Glinski. It's a great question. And basically where we're at is with the controls as they are carrier, nothing has substantially changed in that world of the automation and controls that are in there now. They are still supported by carrier. They can still be maintained by carrier. So the likelihood of catastrophic failure and the need for total replacement is relatively low. So with that, we're hoping that we could just proceed, replace the actual rooftop heat and cooling generating units. That control system should still function fine. And if we do end up having any issues or glitches as the years go on, it is still maintained, and at least we have consistent controls and actual generating units in the entire facility.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yes, thank you. Through to Jason. Can you explain what the control systems are? Is that just the thermostats on the wall, or is it a bunch of stuff in the mechanical room?
Yeah, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. Essentially, yes, it's the thermostat system. But being a facility of that size, it's significantly more complex just because you have multiple thermostats set throughout the building, so you can kind of customize certain areas and certain portions of the building. Not like a residential house where you would basically have one thermostat and it just blasts everything out. They do some heat balancing to get your overall house the same. With these larger facilities, you'll have these controls where, you could pump it up in the administrative type areas. You can turn it down in other areas that aren't perhaps being used at this time. So that's all been factored into the construction of this facility when it's there. So in order for us to take advantage of that, the carrier new rooftop units integrating with that carrier control system would give us the most flexibility of being able to customize basically the heating and cooling throughout that facility.
Okay, I got to follow up then. I guess my only concern with that, you've got a 20-year-old thermostat running a brand new system. That could screw up the new system, probably void our warranty. Would it be possible to tender this both ways? How much are new controls? I guess we don't really know, do we? Or
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, we have had some anecdotal conversation with some of the HVAC providers. They were estimating that it could be 50 grand, depending more, in order to do the controls on top. There's nothing to say that we could not structure a procurement that would allow for both. It gets a little dicey sometimes is to not be accused of bid shopping when you go down that route, because, we're going to say, give us a carrier that is fully compatible with the existing controls, or give us something completely different. Sometimes there are bidders who can take exception with that, but I mean, there's nothing stopping us from doing that. Like we could easily structure, not easily, but it'll require some additional work on staff's part. But we could do that if we wanted to see those price variations, to see whether it's going to be how much more money it's going to be to install an entire new control system as well.
yeah, I think I'd appreciate that. I don't know. It's 20-year-old control system. What's it going to do for our warranty if something does burn up or screw up? And it's 20 years old, it's probably going to fail anyway. So maybe it's the time to upgrade when we have to upgrade. I know it's painful, but that seems like a lot of money just for, I don't know what all the control systems are though. They're just the thermostats or whatever. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on it.
Okay, I mean, very similar question. So I guess in bringing this recommendation, did staff assess the condition of the controller? So, because it sounds like you've looked at that and then said, well, it sounds like maybe all we need to change is that. So you want to do it in a phased approach. So has there been some assessment of the condition of the controllers?
To you, Madam Mayor, contractor that last reviewed and does our inspections and annual maintenance of the system was relatively confident that there isn't a significant issue with the control system because they are relatively basic. It's mainly installation where we're going to really hit the costs because there's a lot of things that are buried within walls and mountings. So you're going to be climbing up and in the suspended ceilings and that kind of stuff. But I do not have an issue at all if we want to go out and get more of that fulsome pricing. This was just the recommendation or a suggested thing because we only know costs are going to continue to rise from this. We do suspect that our current budget allotment is not sufficient for just the rooftop units. So then by the time we factor in new rooftop units with a associated budget request increase and then a control system to be replaced, which was not factored into this project, we're just looking at the scope creep going up. And this was one thought of how we could mitigate that and kind of contain those costs as best we can.
Okay, thank you for that. And so you don't suspect that by asking for two quotes, like one with A and the other one with A plus B, it would not affect the cost, like the quote, it wouldn't impact the quote. So we would actually just be better off with more information.
Yeah, to you, Madam Mayor, we can structure it's a little bit of an abnormality with procurements, but it can be structured that way, that we would go out and basically say, give us an option. You bid option A or B. There would be potentially companies that could bid on both A and B. I guess we would just have to be very clear in our language in that procurement that we are not creating a legally binding contract for something for more work than what actually needs to be done.
Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through to Director Godby. I appreciate the frugal nature of this request. If we retained the existing controls and something occurred, is it possible to replace just the controller at the time that it becomes no longer functional? Or does that then necessitate the full wiring replacement as well?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Leach. From the information we've been provided, if say a controller in one of the other units had failed, if it was all still carrier equipment, they can guarantee that it would still work because their wiring schematics and all that kind of stuff have not substantially changed. However, when you get into some of the other proprietary items, that's where you start to run that risk. There has been no commentary on, voiding of any of the warranty information, but that is a great question that I'll be honest, I had not considered. Unfortunately, Mr. Pennings is not available here this evening to pick his brain on that, but I mean, we could easily bring back some more of that information.
Sorry, follow up.
Thank you. Have controllers substantially changed during the lifetime of the existing units? I realize there are upgrades and updates to all equipment over time. And what is the anticipated lifetime of these new units?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Leach. The anticipated lifetime of the actual rooftop units would be similar. We're looking at that, 15, 20-year life cycle. It's typically around 20, so you can push them sometimes a little further. The issues that we're running up into right now is mainly just due to the age and the technology advance. That was a very advanced system when it went in. So it's not you know, as out of date of say the stuff that you'll find in my house, but it's it is there hasn't been any significant advances in many areas, but I mean, all you have to do is look at these EcoBees and these fancy controllers that we've got on the walls in here now. So I do understand the concern. Beyond that, I think I don't have an issue if we come back with more information relating to these questions that I'll be honest, I just can't answer.
Thank you.
Additional question, Council Glinski?
Yes, Madam Mayor. What is the expected life cycle of the controllers? Does anyone have that for you? Because most control things in, well, let's say cars or a house or so on, when the main furnace goes, then the controllers aren't far behind. And if the life cycle is not very long, then will the person that supplies us with the main unit give us any kind of a not necessarily a guarantee, but some kind of where we get the benefit of buying from them the controllers, because to go to another company for a controller, who knows what you get. You might not get something that's compatible. So you're married to whoever you buy the main unit from. And is it better to be married to them from the beginning, or take a chance on being treated fairly down the road? Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Glinski. Your first question about the life expectancy of the controller, they've not specifically stated a time on that, and that's where I think there's a bit of this perhaps hesitation on to exactly to your point that you do this other replacement, but how are you going to guarantee what else is coming down the pipe? I think staff's general support of the recommendation for continuing with it is that Carrier is a very reputable brand that has performed very well at that site and at other sites where we have used it. But I definitely do see the desire for more information. So with that, I can, as I said, I have no issue. We can basically defer this report. It is not an actionable, immediate, we must do this today item. So I am comfortable to take this back to staff and bring back more information.
Okay, that's one possibility. Deputy Mayor Widner?
Just if we could clarify the wiring, I find it hard to believe we have to replace all the wiring to change controls. There could be just a 10-pack of wires. And can we just have that verified? Because if that was the case, that opens it up to a lot more possibilities, I think. But Carrier, I guess, is a good brand, but what's our warranty going to be? I'm just thinking about what Terrace Lodge situation we had, and it's all new and it's not working right, so it wasn't.
The revised report, just based on the discussion. Yeah, okay. Okay. Good discussion. So for consideration, what was a resolution for consideration by council?
The revised one that we just did. Okay. That report number PW 2625 entitled Single Source MCP HVAC Procurement be received, and that staff return with the revised report based on the discussion.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Widner moves. Council Glinski seconds. All those in favor? And that motion's carried. This was the last item under new business, so that takes us to bylaws. Okay, so under bylaws, we'll do it with two resolutions, one for the two drains. Go ahead.
That the following bylaw be now read a first and second time, bylaw 2634, Woolleyville Line Drain, and that the following bylaw be now read a third time and finally passed, bylaw 2620, the Hipley Dance Drain.
Thank you. Mover and seconder for that. Counselor Surnow moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All those in favor? And that motion is carried. Okay, so now still under bylaws, we have 3 remaining for consideration with 1 resolution, please.
That the following bylaws be now read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, bylaw 2635, Cabrera rezoning, bylaw 2637, Development Charges Bylaw Amendment, and bylaw 2639, East Elgin Community Complex Agreement.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Lewis moves, Counselor Surna seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, there are no items for the committee of the whole this evening, so that takes us straight to correspondence. I'll pull out item number 5, just CODS. Did you want to speak to that correspondence?
Through Mayor Giguere, this in late 2025, Council provided municipal support for the Walker Resilient Generations natural gas generation project and subsequently approved the site's site plan control application. The township has now received notice that the Walker RNG has applied to the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks for an environmental compliance approval to permit the storage of an off-farm anaerobic digestion materials at the site to supply the digesters. The ministry has requested comments from the township following the August 20th council meeting that's going to be upcoming. So staff are currently obtaining and reviewing the application materials and will bring a report to council in August with a summary of the proposal and recommended comments before they are submitted to the ministry.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that item. The other item I'll highlight is number 8. So you see the OPP Detachment Board report. There is an offer for a more fulsome presentation and an opportunity for council to ask questions, and particularly as part of the report is obviously 2025, but it's also going to launch into the 26-28 local action plan. So there's an opportunity to provide input as well. So I wanted to check with council if you were interested in scheduling and inviting the presentation at our next meeting in August. General consensus on that. So that good discussion. It's been a while with all of the transition since we've had a chance to touch base with the detachment directly for a local discussion. So I think that would be beneficial. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea because I know at our policing meetings, we are told they can bring a report if he comes himself to explain the crime or whatever we've had in Malahide. So I think it'd be a good idea for a little bit of update.
Yep. Terrific. Okay, so we'll go ahead and schedule that. Anything else council wanted to support? Councilor Leach first.
Thank you. I'd like to support number 9, Elgin Middlesex Federation of Agriculture, their letter.
Noted. Deputy Mayor Widner.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts, and I guess they do want a response to this. According to the letter, we'll look forward to your response according to time to discuss it. I know they have concerns. There's a big concern in Belmont, but we won't go there. But there is one in Avon about curbs going in and the farm machinery, and I know it's a county initiative, but they are requesting a response. So sometimes it's better to fix the problem before.
Well, I'll switch hat for one moment just to provide an update that since the letter, meetings have taken place and the EFA was with the EFA, and it was brought to a conclusion. So modifications were made, and so there was a general Nobody wanted to use the word approval or agreement, but there was, everybody was satisfied with the way things are moving forward. Anything else? All right, so we'll proceed.
Essentially, you're acknowledging number 9. That's important.
Yeah, because it technically the action has already taken place that they were requesting, so.
I will acknowledge.
Okay. Yes, and support in spirit. All right, so with that, resolution, please.
That item 9 be acknowledged and that the remaining items be noted and filed.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councilor Leach seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We don't have any closed session items, so we'll go with confirmatory bylaw, please.
That bylaw number 2638 being confirmatory bylaw be given first, second, and third reading and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder. Councilor Leach moves. Councilor Serna seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And now for adjournment.
The council adjourn its meeting at 9:19. The council adjourn its meeting at 9:19 p.m. to meet again on August 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves. Councilor Serna seconds. All those in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the summer.